Is this some kind of prank? The voice, sharp and edged with the raw irritation of a leader whose command was crumbling in front of everyone, sliced through the thick, muggy afternoon breeze. Ethan Hayes, the chief project engineer, slammed his laptop closed with a dramatic snap that startled several bystanders. A restoration worth millions, a crowd of 1,000 VIPs eager for the show, and this 10,000-ton hunk of junk won't even whisper. He shot a furious stare at the massive black locomotive, as if it had stabbed him in the back. The Union Pacific Big Boy number 414 rested motionless and mute on the display track, a towering heap of chilled metal meant to be the dazzling highlight of the railway heritage celebration. Instead, it stood as a symbol of his defeat. His crew of fresh-faced engineers, all dressed in neat, identical polo shirts bearing the company emblem, traded uneasy looks. They toyed with their tablets, performing checks that returned glowing approvals and annoyingly cheerful results. According to their figures, the beast was flawless. Yet, it stubbornly refused to generate steam. It was a specter trapped in its own frame. Just beyond the thin velvet barrier dividing the work zone from the swelling audience, an elderly gentleman observed. Elias Thorne, 89 years old, held a serene composure that soaked up the swirling chaos around him. His posture was mildly bent from the years, but his gaze was keen and piercing. It wasn't fixed on the screens or the worried expressions of the team. It lingered on the engine, a profound, intimate stare that felt more like a silent conversation than mere watching. He stayed motionless, fingers lightly gripping the faded leather strap of the bag draped over his shoulder, his tranquility a sharp opposite to the mounting frenzy. A young security officer, keen to please the raging project head, neared him. "Sir, please step away. This area's off limits." Elias kept his eyes on the quiet machine. "She's ignoring your gadgets," he murmured, his tone a deep, gravelly echo nearly drowned by the crowd's whispers. "You've got to sense her rhythm." The guard paused, stunned, not by the phrase, but by the absolute conviction behind it. Ethan Hayes caught the remark and whirled around, his expression twisted in outrage. "Sense her rhythm? Are you a locomotive mystic or something? Back off, Grandpa. We've got real experts handling this, not nostalgic train buffs." Elias at last shifted his head, locking eyes with Ethan. No fury shone in his gaze, only a profound, tired understanding. "I'm merely suggesting," he started, but Ethan interrupted. "I couldn't care less about your suggestions. This is an intricate device, not a steed. It runs on heat dynamics and exact mechanics, not emotions." He waved him off scornfully. "Security, push him farther away. We can't risk the trouble." The clash and its growing intensity stole the spotlight. The audience, once fidgety and uninterested, now fixated on this drama. The focus shifted from the idle train to the haughty young engineer and the composed elder he aimed to shame. Every 5 minutes, Ethan proclaimed a fresh idea, a new effort. They attempted restarting the digital spark system. They adjusted the pressure gauges. They inspected spotless fuel pipes and perfect nozzles. Each try met the same deep, unyielding quiet from the big boy. The sun pounded relentlessly. The VIPs in the stands waved their brochures like fans, and the local broadcasters launched a live stream, capturing the brewing tension at the barrier. "Sir, this is my final warning," the security officer stated, his tone now stern, his palm lingering near his waistband. "Move behind the primary fence." Elias exhaled, a noise like withered foliage scraping over concrete. He glanced beyond the guard, beyond Ethan, and up at the enormous drive wheels of the locomotive, each taller than a person. "That's a G2 injector valve," he whispered, nearly to himself. "They jam in the warmth if the order isn't spot on. Drain the secondary pipe first. Offer her a sip before demanding she charge ahead." Ethan, mid-explanation to an irate suited figure, overheard and charged back. "A G2. No such valve exists on the blueprint. We upgraded this with a contemporary EFI regulator. All automated." He barked a laugh, empty of joy. "Where'd you pick up that lingo? Some ancient tome?" He jabbed a mocking finger at the leather bag Elias carried. "What's in there?" "Your stash of train schedules from the 50s. The slur lingered in the atmosphere. The audience hushed, observing. The broadcast lens tightened. Elias's grip tightened on his bag's strap. He offered no retort. He merely sustained Ethan's stare, his face inscrutable, a calm pond mirroring a turbulent heavens. The youthful engineer perceived only rebellion from a foggy-minded senior. He missed the spark of recollection in Elias's eyes, the echo of a distant era, where that same bag meant survival. The bag's leather was split and shadowed by time. The brass clasps dulled to a faint bronze. As Ethan ridiculed it, the now faded briefly around Elias. The aroma of scorching pavement and edgy cologne gave way to the biting metallic sting of coal fumes and dread. It is 1944. The air in the tight locomotive compartment is dense and icy. Beyond, the Ardennes woods form a bleak nightmare under a thin moon sliver. Elias, far younger with those same resolute eyes, retrieves this very bag from a tiny metal compartment, his features streaked with ash and dirt. The far-off thud of artillery shells provides the only beat to the engine's pulsing throb he oversees. This isn't the 414, but a sibling, operating unseen, a phantom train on a covert task to replenish the encircled 101st Airborne. He opens the bag. Within, amid coiled diagrams and a driver's record, rests a hefty handmade wrench, its face uneven, marked by forging strikes. It's his vital instrument, the sole means to manually bypass the iced injectors in this harsh freeze. The bag isn't a fan's accessory. It is his combat gear, a memento of endurance. The vision dissolved as swiftly as it arrived. He returned to the stifling festival heat, with Ethan Hayes's jeering face mere inches away. The young engineer viewed an aged man with a tatty sack. The onlookers, through that fleeting glimpse, sensed they beheld more. They simply didn't grasp what. As the open degradation peaked, another scene unfolded on the crowd's fringe. Lena Harper, a novice curator from the Railway Museum, had observed the whole interaction with rising discomfort. Unlike the technicians, she wasn't a mechanic. She was a scholar of the past, and she spotted something in the elder's stance, in the precise, almost sacred manner he regarded the locomotive. It was the gaze of an artisan, a virtuoso, not just a fan. She had heard the security call the name Elias Thorne while seeking guidance. While Ethan mocked Elias over the fictional G2 valve, Lena quietly drew her phone. The phrase rang no bells for the engineers, but for a historian who'd pored over records for months for this exhibit, it echoed faintly. It was outdated jargon from the initial unaltered blueprints. A swift look-up for Elias Thorne Union Pacific yielded no fresh hits, but adding Wartime produced a result. A lone scanned article from a 1946 military periodical. It was a straightforward technical essay on supply breakthroughs in Europe's war zone, highlighting the impressive speed of nocturnal resupply trains. The piece noted a unique unofficial tweak to several big boy engines for hidden missions, and cited a young lead engineer, a CWO Elias Thorne, on the hurdles of operating the huge locomotives in total darkness. Her breath hitched. Chief Warrant Officer, a breathing archive, stood there, treated like a lost intruder. Her superior, Dr. Ellis, the museum head, wrung his hands close by, his complexion ashen as he saw his legacy event collapse. Lena knew he was too frantic to heed a guess from a junior aide. She had to bypass him. She edged from the throng, pulse racing. She scanned her contacts, skipping the museum hierarchy, and located the direct line for a man named Lang, a top vice president at Union Pacific's main office in Omaha. He was a famed history enthusiast, the one who'd personally approved the expensive big boy revival. It was a huge career gamble, but the wrong she saw trumped her dread. She found a secluded area behind a power unit and dialed. "Mr. Lang, this is Lena Harper from the Western Rail Heritage Museum," she commenced, her voice quivering a bit. "I'm terribly sorry to disturb you, sir, but I'm at the event. The 414 is jammed." "I'm fully informed, Miss Harper." The response was curt and icy. "I'm viewing it live. My engineering chief is embarrassing himself and the whole firm. Sir, that's the reason for my call. There's a gentleman here. They're attempting to eject him. He's been trying to explain the engine's issue. His name is Elias Thorne." She halted, then plunged ahead. "He claims it's a jammed G2 injector valve." A deep hush fell on the line. For an instant, Lena feared he'd disconnected. Then the voice returned, transformed entirely. The chill disdain vanished, swapped for a shocked, vibrant intensity. What was his name again? Thorne. Elias Thorne. The connection silenced once more, but now she heard rapid keyboard taps. "My lord," Lang breathed. "Miss Harper, ensure that man stays put. Don't allow anyone near him. I'm heading there." The conversation cut off suddenly. Lena gazed at her device, a surge of excitement flooding her. Reinforcements were en route. The view switched to a vast executive suite on the uppermost level of Union Pacific Tower in Omaha, Nebraska. A wide window overlooked the skyline, but the figure in the leather seat ignored it. Victor Lang, Senior VP of Operations, fixed on his monitor, his features pale. He'd just concluded the curator's call. "Connect me to General Harlan at Stratcom," he snapped into his speaker, his tone strained with a feeling his team had never witnessed, "and prep the company chopper for departure. Target Cheyenne. At once." On his display was a freshly unclassified internal staff dossier, marked with the firm's top secrecy level. The monochrome photo depicted a youth in his 20s, face dirtied with oil, jaw set firmly. The label read, "Thorne, Elias M., Chief Warrant Officer, U.S. Army Transportation Corps assigned." The duty log was concise yet astonishing. Lead engineer Ghost Train Unit European Theater, 1943 to 1945 led secret nocturnal locomotive runs aiding frontline fighters. Honored for vital munitions delivery amid the Battle of the Bulge in dire settings, expert in unconventional on-site alterations of the 4000 class locomotive. Lang scanned the final entry, a verbatim note from Thorne's superior in his post-mission summary. "Mr. Thorne doesn't merely run a locomotive. He bonds with it. He sustained them when logic deemed them iced wreckage." Lang seized his coat, thoughts whirling, a G2 injector valve. It was a combat adjustment, a hand-operated detour added to counter fuel breakdown in severe chill. It appeared on no current diagram since it was never formally acknowledged. It was a mystery shared by a select few, mostly departed. They weren't facing just a halted engine. They were dishonoring a vital relic before its architect. Elias Thorne wasn't merely an ex-operator. He was a concealed hero of vast significance. And soon the globe would learn. Back at the scorching festival site, Ethan Hayes's tolerance had utterly shattered. The open flop, the endless media probes, and the steady, unyielding elder had driven him mad. He viewed Elias as the core of his disgrace, a breathing symbol of antique lore that mocked his cutting-edge skills. He marched to Elias, cheeks red with rage, thrusting a finger his way. "Enough. I've tolerated your doddering nonsense too long," he growled, loud for all, news lens included, to catch. "You're a hindrance and a public pest." He faced the pair of lingering security. "Remove him entirely, not merely past the fence. Off the grounds. He's now trespassing and meddling with rail activities." He bent close to Elias, tone a poisonous hiss. "You craved the spotlight, old-timer. Enjoy this? We'll provide a cop send-off." He stood tall, voice public again. "If he fights, cuff him. Perhaps a cell stint will sharpen his wits." It was the peak excess. A last, irreversible display of conceit. The audience inhaled sharply. The guards eyed each other, faces doubtful. They'd been assigned crowd management, not detaining a senior on a frenzied engineer's command. One advanced tentatively and touched Elias's arm. "Sir, you heard. Come along." Elias offered no struggle. He merely eyed the hand on his sleeve, then Ethan, his look one of deep letdown. It was precisely then, at the height of degradation, that a fresh noise broke in. It began as a soft, steady pounding, felt in the torso as much as heard. It swelled fast, a drumming pulse that pierced the strained quiet. All heads, Ethan's too, lifted skyward. A glossy black chopper dropped swiftly, its firm insignia sparkling in the light. It aimed not for the nearby airstrip. It headed straight for a broad open lawn past the tracks. At the same time, a line of 3 dark SUVs, windows shaded to conceal riders, raced a back lane, stirring dust clouds. No wails sounded, but grill-embedded strobes cleared the route with mute, pressing might. The throng, feeling the day's turn, split naturally, forging a broad lane from the vehicles to the stuck locomotive. The chopper landed smoothly, blades stirring a whirlwind of turf and grit. The panels slid, and a suited man, Victor Lang, leaped out pre-spin halt, hunching and advancing with unyielding intent. The SUV doors swung, more suited figures flanked Lang, but the duo from the front ride captured all stares, both in complete service attire. One, a metal-laden Air Force colonel, the other, erect and tall, bore the 2 silver stars of a major general on his epaulets. The display reached the 8-minute point of the crowd's trial, and the climax neared. Victor Lang marched beyond the dazed staff, past the gaping Ethan Hayes, and headed straight for the sole figure in the turmoil who stayed utterly calm. He halted right before Elias Thorne, whose arm remained in the guard's gentle hold. "Mr. Thorne," Lang declared, his tone brimming with respect that baffled the watchers. "Victor Lang, Union Pacific. It's a privilege beyond expression." Before Elias replied, the Major General and Colonel advanced beside Lang. They stopped crisply as one. Then, in a sharp, matched flow, both lifted right hands to brows, offering a perfect military honor to the bowed elder in faded casual wear. A blanket of total quiet enveloped the 1,000-person gathering. The guard yanked his hand from Elias's arm like it scorched. Phones that filmed the shame now rose to seize this instant of baffling, deep esteem. The general maintained his salute, eyes fixed on Elias. "Chief Warrant Officer Thorne," he announced, his voice a strong, resonant tone requiring no boost. "General Harlan, U.S. Strategic Command. Representing the United States Armed Forces, it's my deep honor to at last acknowledge you as your duty merits." Lang accepted a handheld mic from an assistant, his amplified words resounding over the site. For those puzzled by this sight, he started, eyes scanning the throng before fixing on Ethan Hayes. "You're beholding a tribute long due. This gentleman, Elias Thorne, is no simple rail lover. In the chill of 1944, he led a classified army group called the Ghost Train Division. A shared breath escaped the audience. He and his team piloted these exact big boy locomotives," Lang went on, pointing to the hushed colossus through faux lands by night without illumination, frequently amid direct assault, to supply soldiers, fuel, and rounds to the battlefront. They formed the unseen backbone of the European push. This engine number 414 was among his, and it's frozen today due to special unrecorded changes that Mr. Thorne crafted on site to maintain it in the harshest scenarios possible. Changes our current blueprints ignore. He paused, allowing the disclosure's gravity to sink. He wasn't a bother. He aimed to assist. He was the sole individual across this land who could. The crowd's whispers swelled to applause and whoops. The broadcast lens, once on the strife, now swept faces in the throng. Expressions of wonder, regret for prior views, national fervor. Ethan Hayes stood rigid, blood fled his cheeks. He appeared as if the earth had dissolved under him. The tale was no longer hidden. It was now open, irrefutable truth, streamed live for all to witness. General Harlan dropped his salute and pivoted, eyes on Ethan Hayes. He spoke softly, yet his words were chill, bearing his authority and the scene's weight. "Your analysis gear suits machines, lad." He stressed lad like a strike. "That locomotive isn't a machine, it's a tribute. It's a veteran, like the man who led it. You sought to dominate it, bend it with your tech. It answers only to a plea from a trusted ally." The correction was expert, exact, and crushing. Not a rant. A measured verdict of shortfall, given openly. Ethan faltered, his tech terms and firm poise abandoning him. I was unaware, sir. I'm deeply sorry." Elias, who'd seen the full exchange with his typical serenity, softly touched the general's uniformed sleeve. "He's a youth racing ahead, General. We all raced young once." The mercy of the act was remarkable. He then aimed his gentle gaze at Ethan. "She's more than metal and flame," he murmured, tilting toward the big boy. "She holds recollections. All these vintage engines do. You've got to hear her wants, not dictate yours. You forced the main entrance, but she just needed the classic key." He slid his aged leather bag from his shoulder. The audience observed in silent expectation. He undid the dulled brass clasps and delved in, his actions measured and intentional. He skipped the aged records and plans, and his fingers grasped a weighty, shadowy metal item. He extracted it. It was the handmade wrench. As he displayed it, sunlight flashing on its rough, hammered face. The scene blurred once more, swapped for a memory keen as shattered crystal. A frigid Ardennes evening. The 414 is halted, its injector frozen tight. Outside, a storm of flakes and blasts. A youthful sergeant, an Ohio Smith, had given him this wrench days prior, shaped from rescued Sherman tank plating. "For time's factory gear falls short, Eli," he'd remarked. Now, knuckles raw from frost and unyielding steel, Elias slots the wrench on a particular hidden nut in the injector case. He leans his full mass into it with a moan mirroring the injured in the trailing cars. The valve yields, Steam whistles. The train revives. The task endures. The wrench was its opener. Elias strode to the mute locomotive, the throng dividing like waves. He skipped the updated digital compartment. He traced the vast frame to a tiny soiled entry plate under the operator's side, a spot the team had ignored as outdated. He crouched, aged limbs complaining, and matched the wrench's unique handmade tip to a sunken bolt concealed under years of filth. With decades of honed skill, he twisted the wrench a solid quarter left. A profound, echoing thud came from the engine's core, a noise of liberation, of gears aligning. It followed instantly by a mighty, quaking exhale of pristine white vapor from the pistons. A deep, mighty growl built from the boiler's depths. The big boy, after hours of defiant hush, awakened. A burst of gleeful cheers exploded from the audience, a tide of noise sweeping the festival. Elias rose, stroking the heating steel like a loyal steed's side. Mr. Lang, eyes glistening with emotion, dashed to him. "Mr. Thorne, Elias, would you grant us the privilege? Will you pilot her?" Elias eyed the compartment, then the jubilant throng, and offered a plain, soft nod. The aftermath unfolded quickly and firmly. Next dawn, Union Pacific released an official open regret to Elias Thorne, spread by national media. Yet they advanced more. Victor Lang unveiled the Elias Thorne Wartime Rail Legacy Program, a supported effort for safeguarding historic locomotives. Its goal fused current revival methods with the invaluable direct insight of the scarce surviving veteran handlers, guaranteeing their insight would never be overlooked or lost again. Ethan Hayes wasn't dismissed. Rather, per Elias's direct plea, he became the program's initial learner. The close to the grand display was a far calmer, intimate event. 14 days on, Ethan steered his vehicle along a serene, leafy neighborhood road and stopped before a tidy, modest home. He approached the walk, clutching not a device or scanner, but a blank journal and pen. He wore no company shirt, but casual tee and pants. He pressed the bell. Elias Thorne opened, cup of brew in hand. He spotted the young engineer on his step, and a true, slight grin graced his mouth. "Mr. Thorne," Ethan opened, tone modest and earnest. "I realize I've no claim, but might you share tales of her, of the big boy?" Elias regarded the youth, the journal, and saw not the festival's smug technician, but a keen pupil. He saw his heritage as tomorrow. He retreated and widened the entry. "I figured you'd inquire eventually," he replied. "The brew's hot. Step inside." The account of Elias Thorne and his phantom train serves as a striking lesson. It shows that genuine mastery isn't always on a display, and the deepest insight often lingers quietly, awaiting our humility to heed it. If this tale of humble bravery touched you, kindly like this clip, pass it to a companion, and join BR Veteran Stories for further amazing accounts unavailable elsewhere.